Good morning, everybody. We are halfway through Matthew now. Welcome. It's a beautiful day today. This is, well, we've got a lot. I had a hard time naming this chapter because there's like so many things that to go through. But anyhow, let's get into it. So we start with John the Baptist being beheaded. And we see this. This must have been an extremely tough time. But let's go through the story here because this is such an interesting point here that takes place. So we have Herod, and we know that John the Baptist, several chapters ago, he confronts Herod for marrying his brother's wife, or for taking his brother's wife and being with her. And so here's Herodias, who really rules the roost. I guess we could say she wears the pants in the marriage. And so then we see that he says it's not lawful for you to have her. Now, she feels threatened by this because, I mean, Philip was a ruler of one of the parts that Herod ruled over everything. The tetrarch means like four. There's four areas that Herod was ruling, and Philip was one of the places that ruled. But obviously, going for the kingpin was better, probably more money, more things for her, etc. And as we see, she was pretty selfish. And so then she gets her daughter, which is Herod's. It's his birthday now, and she gets her daughter, which is Herod's brother, so Philip's daughter, to dance for him. Well, it says here, let's read this. And when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Andrew Wommack says, I think this is very understated. It's an understatement that she pleased him. Must have been quite probably a very sexual dance that she did for him, and it pleased him a lot. So then he promises to give her whatever she might ask. And we see in another part of the Bible, I believe, where is it? It's also talked about Mark and Luke. So we see that he offered her up to half his kingdom. She goes and talks to her mom, and mom is feeling threatened by John the Baptist. So she says, no, you know what? I want his head. And so of all the things to ask for, she asks for his head, and Herod goes and he does that. Absolutely crazy that, yes, Herod didn't want to kill him because he was afraid of the people, responding, but he did want to kill him. It was still on his mind. The only thing that he was afraid was making the people mad. But Herodias, man, she wanted this done, and she didn't care what people thought. And so they got that done. And what a statement. I can't believe this. They beheaded John in prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. I can't imagine that. To get this given to you. It's absolutely disgusting. I think she had mother issues. I think this is probably not a good relationship. She probably feared her mom. But wow, what a crazy thing to do. I almost wonder if this girl had regrets later in life. Like, man, I should have asked for half the kingdom. Of course, at the time, she was, probably really wanting to just please her mom. There's, mother issues. So she's probably just wanting her mom to be happy with her. But when her parents are, dead and gone, and she's going through life, I wonder if she had any regrets on this. What a crazy thing. And then we see the disciples came and took away the body and buried it and went and told Jesus. The disciples, these are the same disciples that John the Baptist sent from prison, saying, go ask Jesus if he's truly the one. And so they must be thinking, what is going on? Because this Jesus is the one that needs to be like taking over. They're like, okay, this is it. They killed John the Baptist. For sure, Jesus is going to take over the Romans. He is going to get rid of these guys. Absolutely. He's not going to put up with this. But what we see is that Jesus never even publicly corrected Herod for doing this. Never condemned him, never did anything publicly, never avenged him or anything like this. And it must have been so confusing and so difficult for those disciples to wrap in their minds, like, what's going on? And they're seeing Jesus doing all these miracles, but if he's the Savior, why are we putting up with this? Anyhow, so then we see that right away Jesus heard it. When Jesus heard that he had been beheaded, he departed from there by boat to a deserted place by himself. And then the multitudes heard it, and they followed him on foot from the cities. Like, leave the man alone. He just lost a friend, a cousin, and in a drastic way too. But you know what? Jesus didn't skip a beat. He came back down, and he saw the great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them and healed their sick. This is what an incredible... Jesus is so awesome. For him to do this, I know probably all of us would be like, oh, can I have a break? But no, he went and he just blessed everybody, even in the midst of everything he's going through. So now the disciples, we're in the feeding of the 5,000, and the disciples see that there's all these people and they're in a deserted place and the hour is late. So they said, send the multitudes away that may go into the villages and buy themselves food. But Jesus said to them, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And they said, we have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we know that from another part in Mark and Luke, that it's a boy that had this. And so they said, okay, Jesus said, bring it to me. And then he commanded the multitudes to sit down. This is really interesting about the sitting down, to bring order to what was about to take place. He took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitude. Andrew Wommack has a really cool, interesting thing about and looking up to heaven. I want to just bring you guys to this part that he says. He breaks down what looking up really means in this verse. That's lifting the eyes towards heaven. It actually is like the same word that was used when the blind received their sight. Immediately their eyes received sight, or even that people might receive the sight, etc. So the word actually means to see again. It is referring to Jesus doing more than lifting his head. He was receiving spiritual sight. What he had in his hands wasn't enough for the need in the natural, right? But going by the natural is by going by the carnal, and we shouldn't go by the natural. So he needed to see beyond the physical. He lifted his eyes and saw into the spiritual realm and the limitless supply of God. Wow, that's an awesome statement. He saw it on the inside before they saw the miracle on the outside. And this is with what Jesus did. And if Jesus did this, having the natural in front of you and not seeing with the natural, but seeing the supernatural side of God, you need to see it on the inside before you can see the miracle in the physical. And so so they ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained. Now, sometimes it's good to look at a story and see what it doesn't say in order to really grasp what it is saying. Now, it took faith for the disciples to bring these baskets, only one basket, and see the multitude of people. Now it says 5,000 men besides the women and children, which means a lot of them had wives and kids and many kids, so we can assume anywhere between 10 to 20,000 people and 12 baskets of food. It took faith for them to follow Jesus's instruction and go with one basket and have faith that as they're giving the food out, that it will replenish. This is what they didn't see. Was all of a sudden the big mound of food just all of a sudden showed up right behind Jesus, and the disciples went back and forth with baskets full of food. It was only one basket that each disciple had, and they saw, my goodness, take the crowd divided by 12. There's no way. And then I had a funny thought, because I bet you some of the people in the crowd, they're sitting down and they're all in probably little groups or whatnot, and they see that the disciples are far away. And I know what I would have been like, and probably some people that know me know that what I would have been like. I tend to think a lot and observe and calculate, and if the disciples were far from my group, I probably would have been like, okay, well, I don't see a big mound of food. I only see 12 baskets. I don't know if they're going to get to us, boy. I mean, maybe we should have packed something. And you've just been calculating like, okay, yeah, no, there's no way, because they're going to get to that and the basket's going to be empty. And by the time you think the basket should be empty, they're keeping on going, and they're getting closer and closer, and you're thinking, wait. So, and then they get to your group, and you just got to peek in that basket and be like, what's going on? You got to look, because is it empty? Are we getting the last morsels? Like, what's going on? What a story. It would have just been amazing just to see what was taking place. But I love sometimes thinking not of what did take place, but even what didn't, because it would have taken absolute faith for all of them. So then right away, immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat. Now, the word made here is compel his disciples to get into the boat and go before him to the other side. And he sent the multitudes away. So he compelled them. Take note of that, like he made them. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when the evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, and the wind was contrary, which means it was opposite of where they're going. What do we have here? Verse 22. I want to see here, I have a note here. So Jesus didn't just let the demands of ministry cancel his time alone with his Father. After ministering all day, he departed to a mountain and prayed most of the night. All of us ministers have the unexpected interrupt. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me just see. No, let's go to verse 24. So it was contrary. The wind was against them. So here, the disciples just saw the incredible miracle that took place. So the word contrary means the wind was blowing against them. That's exactly the way that the New International Version translated this verse. That means that that all they would have had to do to save their lives was turn around and use the wind to blow them back to the shore that they came from. So to their credit, they were continuing to act on the word that Jesus gave them, which was go to the other side. If we want to get in a position for a miracle, we need to keep heading in the direction that Jesus has told us to go. Many people miss their miracle because when the going gets rough, they head for shore, the wrong shore, behind them. The whole incident wouldn't have happened if the disciples had headed back, the incident of what we're about to see here with Peter walking on the water, headed back to the other shore. We not only have to commit ourselves to doing God's will, but we have to hold to that commitment even when the going gets rough. I like that part. This is a really cool perspective that Andrew Wommack brings in this whole thing. And now, maybe it was here. Where was it that he told them go to the other side? There was a part here that I really liked. How Jesus, here it is, right here. This is, notice that Jesus instructed them to go to the other side of the lake. He didn't tell them to go halfway across and drown. So if they had really paid attention to his instructions, they would have been able, through the promises of his instruction, to overcome the fear that the storm brought. So when Jesus had to compel them to get in the boat and cross, these guys were fishermen. They knew this lake. They knew about it, and they could see the storm coming. And so Jesus had to compel them to go on because they were resisting probably, but his instruction was to go across. And then we see that they didn't go back, even though the wind was contrary. Now, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "Is it a ghost?" And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered them and said, "Lord, if..." I like this sentence. So Peter pretty much, like, he tells Jesus what to say. He says, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." Well, okay, let's say it's not him. Let's say it's I don't know, something else, whatever. He pretty much says, "If it's you, tell me to come on the water." So Jesus says, "All right, come." And so it kind of forced Jesus to say, "Yeah, all right, yeah, it is me, so therefore come." But anybody could have just been, well, not necessarily walking on the water, but if something, they could have just said, "Come," and Peter would have believed that it's him. But here, he also, as sheep, we know his voice. But what's amazing here is Jesus might not have asked him to walk on the water. We don't know what his will was at that time, but Peter put him in such a place. He said, "If it's you, tell me to come." So he told him to come. So now that Jesus gave him the instruction to come, now he can walk on the water because it was his instruction to Peter. And what we see here is in the feeding the 5,000, it was his instruction to go and feed, bring these baskets of bread to all the people. Now his instruction was cross the sea, and so they're crossing the sea. Now his instruction was come on the water. So he came on the water, and he's walking, and as we know, he's starting to walk, and then the water is getting crazy, and now his eyes are going on the natural, on the crazy storm, on the wave that's coming, and he was afraid. He let the natural dictate what was going on in his mind. And he was a sailor, right? He's seen what waves have been doing. So he's got years and years and years of knowing what waves do. And now a wave is coming to him, and now he's taking his eyes off of Jesus, and he's putting it on the natural, on the carnal. He was afraid, and he began to sink, and he cried out, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand, caught him, and he said, "Oh, ye of little faith," or like I like to say, "Oh, little faither, why did you doubt?" And it's easy for us to doubt because it's so easy to look in the natural. Even though they had just seen the 5,000 being fed and saw this incredible miracle take place, and that's why he called them little faither. Why did you doubt? And so then they walked back, and they got into the boat, and the wind ceased. Interesting about this part is Luke doesn't even talk about this story. We see Matthew talks about it, Mark talks about it, and John talks about it, and they all, this is the only one that really goes into with Peter walking on the water. We see Jesus, when he hops into the boat, they immediately were translated to the ground. Exactly when Philip baptized that guy, and they came up from the water, and Philip was translated from there and disappeared and showed up somewhere else. In John, it shows us that they immediately disappeared. They translated immediately to land. How come they didn't talk about that other than John? It's pretty incredible. I love this story. There's so much to go in, but you can compare it with the other stories in Mark and in John. Now, as awesome as these two stories are about feeding the 5,000 and walking on the sea, these three verses right here really intrigue me. And I'll tell you why. We see here that, okay, I'm just going to take me off the picture and go into here. All right, let's go to the last 3. When he had crossed over the sea now, they came to the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent out into all the surrounding regions and brought to him all who were sick. This is very interesting because the last time we see that they were in this land was in Matthew 8. And this is the the guy that was demon possessed, and Jesus cast out the demons. They went into the swine. The swine ran into the water and drowned. And then the people were afraid of this, and they told Jesus to get out of here. But interesting is the guy that got that the demons came out of, that Jesus set free from the demons, he wanted to follow Jesus. And Jesus said, no, I need you to stay here and tell the people about me. It's opposite of what he's normally told people. He'd say, hey, keep this hush. Don't tell people about this. But this time he told the guy, I need you to tell them about me. And he did. As we see, when the men of that place recognized him. So here's a guy, he got, Jesus got rid of the demons in him. Now he can return back to his family. He can go back to his job. And then he did what Jesus told him to do, his instruction. We don't know what happened to him after, especially in the days of Pentecost and thereafter when the church started to grow. We have no clue, but we do know this. He followed Jesus's instructions, because then the people recognized, and now they're not kicking him out. Now they're bringing the sick to him, and they're all coming to him. And the last part is also awesome, and begged him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. So they must have heard of the woman with the issue of blood. She might have been related to somebody in Gennesaret. Somehow that story got through, but people were now excited. Why were they excited? Because that one guy that was demon possessed and Jesus healed is now listening to the instructions of Jesus and did exactly what he told them. And the whole region, the whole area became excited for Jesus. After they had been ticked off and kicked him out, now they're all inviting. And I thought, wow. If I could sum up this whole chapter, I guess we could have called it listening to his instructions, because we see it over and over again, what it's like listening to his instructions. And so, all right, guys, I'm over my time. This was such an incredible chapter. We are halfway through Matthew. All right, we'll see you tomorrow with Matthew 15. God bless you guys. Let your light so shine. I want you guys to be a blessing out there. Value others. And remember, I need to be talking from this point. All right, guys, stay filled up.